I'm Ricky Frank. I'd like to help guide you through the incredible world of enameling. Enameling is wonderful because it's got so many colors that you can use. In this project, we're going to learn how to make a sample board of opaque colors. This is a wonderful tool to use as an artist because it lets you see what the colors are going to look like when they're fired, and it also lets you play with moving colors around to see what colors look good next to each other. So let's get started. I'm going to start with some enamels that I've made in a previous project, and they're 5 different opaque colors. Now, when an artist thinks about creating a piece of artwork, they have to start with vocabulary. And vocabulary doesn't start by making a great piece of art. You start with simple letters that become words, that become paragraphs, sentences, and they start to tell a story. But you've got to know your letters and your words first. And if you don't know your enamel colors, then you can't make creative, thoughtful statements. So what I want you to do is to try to take the time to actually make these color tests so you learn your enamel letters and then start putting them together and you'll have enamel words. It's the basis for learning how to be a creative enamel artist. So to start with, I'm going to take some cardstock. It doesn't really matter what we're using. And I'm just going to cut up some strips. Let's go from the other side. I like to get something a little thicker than paper because these are going to last for years. So I've got 5 pieces here. And to start with, I'm going to write the color number on each one of these. So I'm going to line these up. And there are lots of ways of doing this. You don't have to do this first. This is just how I'm going to do it. Like with most enameling things, there's not a right way. Whatever works, do it. So 1308 is this green. I'm going to write this here. 1870. 1840. 1780. I love purple. And this yellow, 1820. I've made color tests over the last 37 years of enameling in lots of different ways, but I found that this is the easiest way for me to keep track of pieces. I don't have to look through a bag or a box. They're all laid out. And what I'm doing is just using some Velcro to hold things together. So I basically have one strip of the plastic attached right to the board, which I'm going to do in a moment. And then on the back, I've got the softer part of the Velcro just stuck onto the back of these color tests. And then I can just stick them on and they stay where they are. So to start with, I'm going to take some of this material. And this Velcro is the type that has the peel and stick plastic on the back. So I'm going to start by peeling this, and I'm going to cut it. And I'm going to go ahead and just stick this somewhere on the back. And I'm going to do one for each of these. Okay, so I've got my samples, my numbers, and I'm going to take a little bit of glue. I've used all kinds of glue. I don't really think it matters what kind, as long as it can be thick enough where it's going to hold on to an uneven surface. I've used Elmer's glue, any kind of craft glue. I've got pieces that I glued on 35 years ago, and they're still in place. So I'm not really going to worry much about that. I'm going to put a little dab of glue on here. And I'm just going to press it down. Do the same thing with each of these. And just to be more efficient, I'm just going to go ahead and do these all. Like I've said before, I hate wasting time, and this is not really a very exciting project, but once it's done, it's really helpful. I can't tell you how many color tests I've made and then not taking the time to do this, and then within a week or 6 months, I don't know what the color is anymore, and it was a waste of time. So I've got all these pieces here. This is going to take a little while to dry, so I'm not going to start playing with these because they'll start sliding around. But the next step is to take the other side of the Velcro, and I've already cut it to be about the approximate width of my board. And what I've used is just a nice canvas board because it's really firm. You can get these at like any art supply store. Slide the plastic off. There we go. And I'm going to just press that down, touch it on, and depending on the size of my piece, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I'll do 5 strips. So I can now, let's say I want to play with some color ideas. And I'm going to do some purples and greens. I could pull out a few of these pieces. And put them together. And I've got a nice little color assortment, a little color scheme. And then I could also just play with the order of them. And see how I like that. Or I could remove one of them and maybe let's put a little bit of a yellow in there instead of this green. Maybe this is a little too light in color and I want to go a little bit darker. So maybe I can find a darker green, and maybe I want to get these darker colors closer together and do a gradation going from a dark to a light. So there are lots of different ways to play with this. And what's really nice is you can make different little storyboards for different projects you're making. Put them in a corner, put them on your desk, and live with them for a while instead of rushing to make something. I know that I had no art background when I started enameling, and I really didn't have much art confidence, and especially with drawing. And I always felt like as soon as I got some kind of drawing down on paper that I could live with, it was like a rush to get this made, so I didn't have to deal with the anxiety of feeling like I wasn't good enough. And I always find that if I could just take my time, slow down, go past that first sketch or that first color idea, live with it a little bit, let myself be anxious, I can make better decisions. And I find that I'm much more creative when I take my time and I don't rush through something. And I know lots of people when they're beginning, even when they're experienced artists, the creative process is very stressful. I mean, it's not life or death, but you want to make something good and you don't want to fail. So, if you can just, this is a nice way to give yourself permission to relax, live with something before rushing into making the piece. So it's a lot of fun to make. I mean, these are great to look at. And you can do them with transparents. You could do different types of patterns. Once we start getting into working with transparents and foils, come up with all kinds of different arrangements, put them on a board, see how they look like, live with them, make changes, figure out what you like, and then make a piece. So hope you learned something good today. For more info, visit riogrande.com or call 800-545-6566. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.